Excellent. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Frome Town Council's Planning Committee meeting of the 1st September. I'm Steve Tanner. I'll be chairing this evening's meeting. As ever, we want to make our meetings available to as many people as possible, regardless of where they are. So we're using a hybrid setup of in-person in the Town Hall chamber and online via Zoom. For those in the room, a little housekeeping, emergency exits to the rear corner of the room and assembly points car park. Toilets can be accessed at the end of the corridor on the right-hand side, and there is an accessible toilet to the right of the lift. For panelists on Zoom, please raise your electronic hand by clicking on the participants button at the bottom of your screen. Those in the room, please raise your hand, etc. For attendees on Zoom, please pose questions through the Q&A board. Attendees' names will become visible on the questions board for the record as your question is answered. For those attendees in the room, again, please raise your hand. The minute will be recorded for minuting purpose, and we also live stream to our YouTube channel. And Hannah is clerking tonight. Thank you, Hannah. Right. Agenda item number 1, questions, comments, information from public and or councillors. No, excellent. Thank you very much. Item 2, we haven't had any apologies, so we'll skip that one. Item number 3, declaration of members' interests. Good.
Yeah, in terms of the presentation we're about to hear from Persimmon, I just thought I ought to declare that I actually live on Printworks, which is adjacent to the actual site in question.
Okay, I don't think that excludes you from participating, voting, whatever. Thanks anyway. Thank you. Anything else? No, nothing on that. No, good. Agenda item number 4, to agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 11th of August 2022, which I have here. Someone propose those for me, please. Thank you, Mark. Seconded by Andy. All those in favour? Thank you. Did you vote? Right, that's fine.
Okay.
So that's unanimous.
Yeah, no, you went, and that's fine.
Right.
Thank you.
Item number 5, to consider the major plan applications received. And the first one tonight is item number 61, which is the land at Adderwell Road, Frome, and it's a residential development comprising 25 dwellings, new vehicular access, landscaping, sustainable urban drainage and other associated infrastructure works. And Barnaby from Persimmon is going to run us through a presentation. Thank you, Barnaby.
Thank you for having me. Oh, can you hear that? Yeah. Okay. Thank you for having me tonight. Just a brief run over of the application as it stands now. So as you may all well know, the site context, it is a brownfield site located in the southeast of Frome. It is got residential now on all borders of the site, so it is now enclosed with residential. We are proposing access off Adderwell Road via Primrose Court. And yes, as you all may well know, this is a resubmission. We have undertaken various consultations with Mendip, and also we have held meetings with Frome Town Council themselves to look at the application, how we can better it from the first submission. And yeah, this is what we are looking at now. We are at 25 dwellings. That is a mixture of 1, 2 and 3 bed dwellings across the site. As you can see, we have had slight changes across the site. The most notable change being to the south, where the previous attenuation pond has been replaced with underground crating. The underground crating has allowed for an area of open space to be facilitated within the site. Other changes within the site have been the improved frontage onto Primrose Court. So that's via way of landscaping and also frontage. Along the northern border of the site as well, we have also switched a couple of units around. The reasoning behind the switching those units was to accommodate more landscaping on plot. What else have we done? Where we've also added where units don't have garages, we've added cycle stores to every unit. And yeah, it's mainly smaller changes. So we've also made changes based on urban design comments we received from the planning officer. So very minor changes to the frontages of units. The design of the units, I gather this is the first time we've actually spoke to yourself, so it's probably one of those times where you're thinking, where do we actually get the design for these units from? So we took inspiration from around the surrounding developments, surrounding areas. So we kind of took inspiration from what Acorn had permitted, and also what Persimmon had previously built adjacent to the site, and also the wider area of Frome. So we tried to take those, build them together to try and create an interface between the development to Acorn's development and also the wider area of Frome. So the detailing within, you can see we've included modern flat canopies with buff brick. There's banding around the windows, taking on that traditional element. There's honeycomb brickwork around the door frames on some units. So that just adds a bit more interest to the unit. Where appropriate as well, we've also included brick screen walls as well. Just makes it a bit different from the usual closed boarded fences you see along a lot of the sites, and really enhances the frontage. And we've also paired that with anthracite fixing such as the doors, the windows, and we've gone with slate grey roofs. Just an overview of the materials used. Further information can be found on the application with some sample pictures as well. In terms of affordable housing, what we have put forward is fully policy compliant. We are proposing 8 dwellings, which I know is going to be beneficial to the area and reacts to some other applications in the area that have brought forward some suboptimal levels. That is to be split shared ownership with 2 3-bed houses, affordable. I know this is up for discussion. I've seen the comments about social rent versus affordable rent. I'm happy to take away and look at those. It's one of those terms that we often find interchangeable, so we are happy to discuss that with the council to get what they want on that basis. But yeah, we are proposing 2 1-bed flats. Those do have private gardens as well, and 4 2-bed houses. Landscaping within the site. This is an image you probably haven't seen, but this was a CGI imagery we had created when we were looking at getting the underground crating. So this is the incidental open space to the front, how we imagine it to look. Slight variations now. We've spoke with the town council themselves and we've looked at different species to include within that area. But essentially what we have been able to create now is some public open space, so incidental usable open space rather than that quite contentious drainage feature that was there previously. So that provides somewhere where the community can meet and also just give someone a more public open space to then just their private gardens. In discussions with yourself, we have accommodated the fruit trees as well that were that you requested. So I believe that includes plum, apple, lime, cherry. I believe there's one other species, but off the top of my head, it's escaped me. And we feel this does just create an enhanced entrance into the development and also into Acorn as well, because it sits on the corner of both and will be usable by residents in both developments. Throughout the development as well, we've also tried to accommodate as many street trees as we can. So we've done that by including those in frontages, enclosing frontages with small hedges, and we just tried to really green up the area. And by doing that as well, we've also, at the request of the council, Mendip Council, have included grasscrete visitor parking spaces to really allow them to assimilate into the grass verges. And apologies, we've also looked at what else can we do within this public open space. There is some log piles as well to encourage biodiversity within that area and give a place of shelter. And we know you guys have a sustainability pledge. We usually look at the fabric first approach. We've done the fabric first approach. That's increasing the insulation within the properties, trying to keep them tight so they can retain heat. And first for our region as well, we are looking at air source heat. Well, we've committed to air source heat pumps on every single dwelling. Just one thing that we've not tried before, so we're happy to go with it as well. We know you guys are committed to it. We want to keep on board with that. So that will reduce obviously carbon, but I believe I'll double check, but it will reduce, it will remove the boiler as well. So it will be, and when paired with that fabric first approach that we've gone with, it works a lot better than retrofitting air source heat pumps to traditional housing. So those combined technologies should see a very energy efficient home, and as standard electric vehicle charging points on all units as well. Just a quick run over the benefits of the development. 8 affordable homes, as said, the redevelopment of a brownfield site, reduced carbon development, public on-site space, and an education contribution of £237,536. And happy to discuss. And if I can't answer your questions, I'll take them away, but I'm hoping I'm quite well versed in this site now.
Great, thank you very much. Barnaby, okay. Questions? Who's first? Andy.
Thanks for that, Barnaby. 2 or 3 things sort of came up while you were talking there that I'd just like to clarify. On the whole, we've always pushed towards trying to pepper pot the affordable and social housing. I recognise this is quite a small site, but did you consider that option?
Yeah, I can just skip back to that. It'll be on that first layout, won't it?
Yeah. So,
All the way at the beginning.
way back at the beginning.
We'll get there. There we go. So we know that the policy is something that you can't have 14 together. Obviously, we're not having 14 together. What we did try to do was split the rent and the shared ownership. So by putting those shared ownership, they're akin to market dwellings. So we tried to break it up on that northern boundary. And it was, to be honest, we do find that with management companies that take on these rented units, they do like to have them quite close together. So we try to keep them relatively tight, but also feel separated within that area by putting a couple of more dwellings in between.
Okay. Just while you've got that slide up, I did notice on one of the documents that it shows a limit of access for refuse collection, which also implied that the people who are in the affordable houses have got to drag their bins all the way to the edge of the main road versus just putting them out to the edge of their house.
I will double check on the refuse for you, but
I think it shows that the refuse trucks can access through the yellow path. They can't go any further back into the corners of those T's. It's a minor thing, but it just seemed a bit petty.
Okay. I believe I will double check, but it will all be about how that vehicle can navigate through those roads. Yeah. As you can appreciate, it was quite a tight site, and we tried to accommodate everything we can within that.
Okay. 2 other things just while I'm on the mic. Do you include B bricks in your build?
We can do. That is something that we're happy to look at with. We have discussed this with Mendip Council before. We haven't had a comment as of yet from the ecology officer, but with previous knowledge of other developments we've done, we have included aspects such as Swift bricks, B bricks, I believe it was hedgehog access, and we've covered those within the section 106. So I have brought this up with Nikki, the case officer. I am expecting a very similar request, and we will cover that within the section 106.
Okay, thanks. And then finally, the open space.
Yep.
How do you expect that to be managed in the longer term? Do you have a residents open space management team, or is it taken on by a management company?
It will be taken on by a management company, yes.
Okay. I mean, that feels a little disappointing because I actually think it builds the community far stronger if the local people look after their own local space.
I believe it's just something that we've never had experience with, and obviously this is one of our recent developments within Frome, but in some areas as well that I can't imagine it working, but obviously it's something that I'm happy to take away and look at.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Got Philip and then Mark.
Thanks, Barnaby, for that. I've got 3 points really, but well, they all relate to access.
Yep.
Could you highlight, please, what is proposed in terms of vehicle access, and looking at the end of the site there, the Primrose Court, where it's then goes into effectively what is the Acorn site, that would be phase 3. What access is there in terms of vehicle access? And also if you could highlight for us pedestrian access, please.
Yep. So I'll start with the vehicular access. We do have the singular access into the site. We had looked at other options, but that was the most appropriate, was the singular access off of Primrose into the development for vehicles. To the south, it's a full vehicular access into Acorn. So we will be facilitating access through there. And pedestrian wise, our pedestrian accesses are onto Primrose Court. We had looked at providing one to Caxton Road. However, we faced a few difficulties in that there was going to be quite a vast level change between the two. As you know, there's a retaining wall along Caxton Road, and what had been permitted already by the time we got to this, we would be abutting straight onto highway. There's no pedestrian access along Caxton Road on the western side, so it would produce an unsafe access, in our opinion and Highway's opinion, that if we were to just allow pedestrians to walk down a set of steps as well, which would potentially create a blind vision each side, it would just be straight onto highway, and it didn't really produce a safe access through to Caxton Road. However, we have mapped this as well, so we have walked it through the building site as well. It's roughly 180 meters from the entrance of the site to get to the community centre on the other side, and it took us around a slow pace around 2 minutes to get the road there, to get around that side.
Okay, so just so I understand this clearly, Barnaby, you're saying that Primrose Court, you will grant access from the Acorn site?
They have a right of access through the site, and I believe
Groups round.
yes.
Yeah, because all the information that we have is that would not be accessible to anybody on Printworks.
We've been under.
But this is by Acorn.
Yeah, we were under the impression that we were providing it.
Okay, that's fine.
It's nothing stopping it from our side.
And looking at the road there, it's marked Primrose Court.
Yes.
As you come down on the right,
Yes.
there is a
Verge.
the verge of the pathway that leads down to the river.
Yep.
That will still be there and maintained, and
From our side, the pedestrian footpath will be on the development side.
Yep.
I believe there is a verge, but it's very narrow to accommodate the 2 cars as well. It's very narrow on that side, so I'm not sure what goes on to the Acorn site or what it goes into, but on our side, the pedestrian access will be provided through on the development side.
okay. And my final point is two in one, if I may.
Yep.
At the top of the site, as you come into Primrose Court, you've shown it there. There are 3 or 4 parking spaces.
Yep.
And there are gates there at the moment which open onto a hard area, which is the highest point of the site. So 2 points there. One, will those parking spaces still be retained? And if so, who will have access and priority to them? And my second point is, where does the landscaping come to back onto the gardens at the rear of the site?
So those parking spaces are shown there. So I think what's happening at the moment is people are driving in straight into them when they're actually parallel parking spaces. So those parking spaces are to be retained there. I note that some people have been parking in front of the gates as well. The gates will actually be removed. Obviously, that aspect forms part of the development itself. But yeah, there is no intention to remove those parking spaces at the top. I know there's some other parking spaces as well that are under the management company anyway. But the site as it is going to be regraded so that the highest point to the is the rear of the garden. It will be a gentle slope. I'll just use this. It will be a sloping in this sort of direction and obviously along Primrose Court following that. So it is quite a challenge to site, but it is going to be completely regraded, and we will be reusing the concrete that's already on site as well. We will be breaking that up and be reusing that as well. But yeah, it's going to be a completely regraded site.
Are you putting in retaining walls for those gardens at the top? Or
We will be abutting.
line?
We are abutting from those gardens, and we're going to keep it at that height. But obviously, it will drop down before it gets to the dwellings as well. So those properties will still maintain their sunlight. We're not planning on raising up housing to that level. We will be gently grading from the level that it's at now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Philip. Mark? Use this one if you want.
Yeah, that'd be better. Thanks for the presentation. It's much improvement on when we saw before, I think. I think it still is a bit cut and paste from previous developments. I'm thinking of Edmund Park, where you've put the social housing in one spot, and that's caused problems at Edmund Park. I mean, there's more of it there, but it has caused a bit of a us and them, a bit of a, I don't want to say a ghetto, that's wrong to say, but that has caused the problems on that thing are all concentrated in one spot, which I guess is more appealing to those who are paying for the houses than those who aren't. So that's, I agree with Andy's policy or point that we've made before about trying to spread it amongst the development rather than keep them in their corner. But that's probably how you have to make it work in this thing here. Looked at your travel plan. I see that 0.1% of residents commute by underground or tram, which would be great to see if you're going to put those in as well. And you mentioned, it's easy access to bus services. Unfortunately, most of those, or both of those, have been discontinued over the last month or so in Frome, and we're struggling to get them back. So that's not really something we can argue as a great place to be for public transport. And the travelling time that your travel consultant has made is all about local schools, nothing to the college or the hospital or the medical centre at the other side of town. So that's still some way away from that. It says that there's no, the land isn't contaminated. You've done research to say it's not contaminated?
Yeah, there was a geological investigation done previously, and that's looked at that. I'm assured that it's not contaminated.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that when I worked there in the early 80s, there was an awful lot of spillaging going on. It was a chemical works, and I don't know what you might find when you start taking a few layers off to grade the land going down there. You may find that. What I'm concerned about is you may find things that make your profit less, and therefore you'll cut back on the affordability because, when it becomes less viable, that sort of thing. So this is what I'm trying to point out. There could be some things that crop up that you haven't really allowed for at the moment, and I know that developers normally cut back on the affordable when they have to make savings rather than on the rest of the place. So just sort of flagging that up a bit. So I'm a bit concerned about the attention that's been paid to this because I'm sure you're familiar with the design and access statement you've done for this. Page 17 of that I looked at this afternoon. You're obviously familiar with that, which talks about access to Trowbridge Town Centre, Hilperton being a great place to live and all this sort of stuff.
I can only apologise about that. It's one of those things that was obviously put through, but not checked.
Yeah, it just worries me a bit, the attention to detail and the cut and paste attitude. So it's just something I wanted to flag up, really. But apart from that, it's a much improved development than one we saw before. So thanks for bringing it back.
There's a couple of questions online, Barnaby, which I'll, this from Alison Berkshire. First one, there was a statement about reusing concrete. How exactly is it going to be used? And then the second one is, can there be pedestrian access from the parking area in front of the social houses onto Primrose Court? I think there is, isn't there?
Yeah, there is a pedestrian access. I can just highlight it there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure anyone at home will be seeing it, but that is a pedestrian access there.
Great.
I'll just use my mouse so online,
Yes.
hopefully.
That's it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Um,
Great.
and in terms of concrete, it will either be used in the regrading process or it'll be taken away and crushed,
Okay.
reused in that sense for aggregate.
Great.
One other question, Steve.
That was one other
Yeah.
question. Hang on. Well, yeah, her question is basically my first question as well. Whilst having air source heat pumps is to be commended, what about installing solar panels, or at the very least wiring the houses so that they are ready for solar panels? And that was my question.
I believe that was something I had a discussion with Councillor Kay yesterday.
You did, yeah.
At the moment, I'll be honest, I don't know what the situation with that would be. It's something I would have to go away and talk with directors and wider team. We've not got, I'll be honest, we've not got much experience with solar, but I know it's coming through as
Yeah.
something more important. And as I say, we haven't had much experience with air source heat pumps. We've been speaking to other regions who have installed them,
Okay.
undertaking site visits to ascertain how they work. And I guess we're just in the process of bringing these forward. As I say, this is our first development in the Wessex region, which covers all the way up to Oxford. And this is our first one using air source heat pumps. So it's something we can look at.
Yeah.
And I will discuss internally and get back to you on that one.
It would make real sense to have solar, or at the very least have the wiring done for solar, because I think most of these houses have a roof that's going to face south or southwest, which means they'll get significant hours in the day of generating, and solar panels and air source heat pumps work really well together. So I think, yeah, that's something that we could really take away. Other comments from, I mean, it is a great improvement on what we saw before. I know when we spoke, when you came in earlier on in the year, about the affordable housing where it was, and I know one of the housing associations wanted it like that as well, which we sort of okay, hear what you're saying on that one. And I do get the access to Caxton Road would be ideal as a pedestrian access, but I've sort of been down there a few times now, and I do get it is pretty dangerous to come onto Caxton Road as it stands. And unfortunately, Acorn have put the footpath the other side, and those parking bays there make that really quite tricky. So yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to that's that. Apart from that, oh yeah, I've not got anything else to say that I didn't say to before. As I say, I think it's a big improvement on what previous was, and yeah, doesn't look too bad at all. Any other comments, Philip?
Thanks, Steve. Just 2 points, Barnaby. One is relating to visitor parking.
Yep.
On your development. What capacity do you have? And also, are there within those, if there are visitor parking spaces, are there charge points for electric vehicles?
There is not a community charge point for visitors. It's one of those things where they are going to be regular visitor parking spots. They are accommodated within the site. There's 2 within the dwelling, and obviously there is I believe there's the use of those 2 up the top as well of the road on Primrose Court. We have provided, we believe, ample parking on plot for residents as well. They will have access to electric vehicle charging there. I'd hope anyone that's visiting as well, if there's space on the drive, they would use those as well. But it's not something that we had considered on this development, is community chargers.
Because one concern is that, as you can see there in your drawing along Caxton Road, there are parking spaces, and initially all of those were to be charge points, but I think at the moment there's only 3, possibly 4. They may increase. One concern is, as phase 3 is completed on the Acorn site, which is at the bottom of your development, they too will have visitor parking with charge points, is that some of those may well be taken up by people from your development. So therefore visitor parking will extend onto the Acorn site, and use of charge points, as you may not have a significant number on your development itself. And my second point is to do with the fact that the drawing there shows just before those parking spaces, where it actually says Caxton Road, roughly where probably says the TON of Caxton now on the other side. There will be opening a spa.
Yes.
And beyond that, I think we're very lucky to have a Papa John's pizza takeaway.
Did see that application.
And I think that will be the nearest food retail in terms of a shop as a spa to your development, and also the takeaway. So I'm just thinking, what is the likelihood that in the future, in the relatively near future, the residents there say, well, why can't we just go through onto Caxton Road? And whether that's an issue that they come to you with, or whether they come to the management company to say, can we go through? It would be next to the affordable housing there at the top.
Okay, so across that, we are including a boundary treatment, which I believe, after discussions with Councillor Kay, we are going to be putting in some native hedgerow along that boundary. But there will also be a form of boundary treatment, which I believe is a closed boarded fence. It is primarily for safety, to stop people jumping down onto highway. So it is essentially what we need to do. So native hedgerow as well. It's going to be some sort of species that is possibly going to be a bit spiky, to stop people using that as an access.
But my point was, could an application be made then?
We
have. We don't want to walk all the way around. Look, we can just literally go across 6 feet here.
That's something that we do. This is within the application process. We have looked at this quite extensively, but there was no safe way with what has been permitted on the other side. There was no safe way to accommodate any sort of through route through there. And the level changes as well. Again, we have these physical features that I know it's annoying, but it's those things that we can't overcome at the moment. We have extensively looked at that.
Okay, thank you.
Quite a drop in height.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
There is no. Sorry, it's quite a drop in height, as I say. And the footpath there is about that wide, isn't it? And I think one of the issues from highways, if someone comes down, they're going to do one step, next step's going to be on Caxton Road. And when phase 1, 2 and 3, that Caxton Road could get quite busy.
Yeah, I take that point, understand that. What I think is human nature is that
it is, absolutely.
Eventually somebody will get through, because why have I got to
desire
go
line,
all the way around when I can literally see it?
Yeah.
Or not more than 10 meters away.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, so there is cycle stores in each private dwelling. So they are, I'm going to have to zoom in, but there is a cycle store in each dwelling. So they've got their access to their own private cycle stores. So it will be a lockable wooden structure that will provide safe parking.
So the affordable housing doesn't have garages, but it would have
They
additional.
will have their own cycle parking, yes, in their rear gardens.
Okay, so there isn't also communal bike parking. There aren't the bars. For instance.
There is no bars on this development. It's mainly to encourage people to store their bikes safely within inside.
And what is Grasscrete?
Grasscrete is it's sort of concrete in a crisscross fashion, and through the gaps up grows grass. So it allows it to stay green whilst being able to drive a car over it.
Just on the parking thing, are you actually providing garages big enough to put cars in?
I believe these ones are, but we've also provided dwellings that have got garages, have got enough room for 2 car parking spaces each, I believe, as well. I would,
Sorry. Yeah, get with the program. I'm not hearing any major objections from anybody. Would that be correct? Yeah, I mean, I think we've got some comments which I'd like to take away with Hannah and formulate that into something and send it all around to everybody before it goes off to mend it. Around some of the comments that we've made, but I don't really see any objection coming through at the moment. So
I would like to reinforce that point about communal ownership of the common
sure,
spaces.
well, I think we can make that point. So if everyone's happy, then we'll vote to delegate to myself and Hannah, which we'll send around to you guys, and we'll get something off. But as I say, I don't really see any great objection. So if someone is happy with that, is that okay? Yeah. Should we vote on that?
Yes, please.
If someone can propose that, then thank you, Mark. Yep. Thanks, Barnaby.
thank you.
Yeah, good. We'll send it through to yourselves as well, what we decide. Yes, please do. Yeah, that's going through legal, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Brilliant. Excellent. Thanks very much, Barnaby. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, so let's just stop sharing that one.
Right, the next one we are going to look at is number 64 and 65. Why Jane picked this, but, which is 12 Cashin Street. Replace the existing modern rear extension with modern rear windows and internal alterations to the listed building.
Not letting me make it bigger.
Yeah, I think this is where the Civic Society have got their comments slightly, I think, I mean, I don't know.
So I'm going to share this one.
Do slideshow.
It's not letting where it's hidden, and then the
Oh, yeah.
hang on FM and that one doesn't like it. One of these should be. Oops, let's do this.
There you go.
There we go. We got there.
Right, so yeah, replace it. Can you go on to the next one? Is there another page? Yeah, here we go. Right. So basically they're replacing the bottom bit, which is much more glass and modern, and getting rid of the one at the top, which although we can't see it, doesn't look a particularly aesthetic extension. Yeah. Mm.
Show it better, but
I can't. I don't know.
So that was James' comment.
Yeah, I mean, but basically Jane said as far as she was concerned, there were no issues, but we'd have to refer to the conversation officer.
I think it's an improvement.
I do.
Proposed.
Yeah.
An improvement on what's there at the moment.
Yeah.
Which is
And the
it's gonna be work, right?
great. So we have no issues with that one.
That's
Good.
We go as far as supporting it.
I guess we can, subject to the conservation officer. Yeah. Okay. And the next one,
Can we just get a vote on that one?
Oh.
Just the-
someone opposed, thank you, Andy. Favour, yeah, unanimous. And the next one is, this is 33 Innox Hill. Now there is already an outbuilding there. This goes onto the road at Innox Hill. And what they're proposing to do is to knock down an existing detached outbuilding and put a new outbuilding up to provide ancillary accommodation to the main house, which is set quite a long way back from Innox Hill.
Whereabouts in Innox Hill is it?
Up on the right. No, it's not. Yeah, it's sort of getting towards the crest. I don't know if can we get the
That's where it comes back down onto the.
Not the only.
the main at the moment along Innox Hill there's two huge apple trees. I think they're apple trees, and they shield everything and create quite a nice street scene. And they're proposing to take them out. And I think when we went round, one of the potential issues is that by taking the big apple trees out, you were going to change completely how it looks as you drive up the street, basically. Now I don't know if there's another way to do this without.
Where they are on that one.
Yeah, there.
Oh, no.
Two circles.
Yeah.
So they're covering the current outbuilding,
Yeah.
shielding it.
So from the road, you don't see the current outbuilding. Because obviously it's midsummer and the apple trees are in full leaf. But they are quite big.
Am I right in thinking there's a wall there? And
There's a small wall, yeah.
it slopes upwards away from the road?
There's no overlooking or anything like that because of the topography of the land and the fact that the houses here they all seem to have quite largish fronts and they are set back. But it is going to change it.
And just looking at that sketch map, it would appear that there's enough space that they could build the building they want without impacting anything to try and move it a bit closer to the.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it's going to be a larger building.
I guess there's no TPO on the trees, but could we ask Bo Walsh to have a look at it?
Well, yeah, I think we should. Just because of where it is in Innox Hill.
Sort of scenic preservation.
Yeah.
Quite significant.
Probably also have that substation next door.
Yes. Well, they probably do. Yeah. I mean, the substation is that little square up to the on there.
Am I right in thinking that where they're proposing the new build, that's at one plane, and as the driveway shows there, that then goes up to the main dwelling at the back,
Yes.
and that might be then an issue in terms of moving it back because you're into a bank then. I'm not sure.
It's worth asking the question.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. I'm just wondering whether that's part of the reason.
It could be, but you think by demolishing the existing buildings, they're going to have to do some sort of earthworks.
I mean, it doesn't really say, it says to provide ancillary accommodation to the main house, but it doesn't really say what it's for. I mean, if it's a whole extra,
Dwelling.
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely
Mm.
being able to move in there,
What are
but
the-
it's really,
One of the plans they're showing like a self-contained.
it's really.
Yeah.
an addition.
It's a it's a, I don't, they've got any. Ooh. What have I done?
No, nothing you presented too far. There's a few extra slides that Jane left.
Oh, right, okay. Can we get, can you go to the Mendip website and we get the floor plan for this?
Yeah.
While we're, thanks. Number 70.
It's all right.
Is that it? Yeah, try that. Is that the one we're looking at? Yeah, I think that's the one we're looking at, isn't it? Don't read that.
I'm out. This one here.
Ah, there you are. Is that the rotate?
Yeah, I think so. Right, we just need to share it because it's
Yeah.
not quite shared on the,
No, isn't it?
no, not yet.
Yeah, it looks good.
The screen. Which one is it? It's this one, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's a two-bedroom bungalow.
No, it's not a bungalow.
It's not a bungalow, it's like a dormer.
Small house. So presumably the outbuildings have already got drainage.
Yeah. Mm.
Lined up.
Mm.
I mean, normally the civic society would say yes, but with conditions that it can't be.
Yeah, I was
Let
expecting
or-
to find that.
Well, yeah, and they have on another one in, yeah, they did, yeah, Beechwood Close, they've done it, haven't they? Yeah. Mm.
I don't know if the drawings show this, but it seems as though they are putting in a house. And removal of the trees. Might that be for vehicle parking?
It could be, it's not clear,
It's not clear, is it?
no.
Because ancillary to the main dwelling
Mm.
wouldn't necessitate extra parking. really.
No, not at all. We wouldn't need it if it's just
Wouldn't
an
need it.
ancillary building, no.
If you are thinking something else,
Yeah, down the line, just to selling it off, yeah, absolutely. Mm. Yeah, I haven't on this one. I thought it was an overdevelopment, I must admit. I didn't like the fact the two trees were coming out. I thought it was a overdevelopment on Innes Hill. That was sort of where I was coming down.
Yeah. Two bedroom house, which was cycle shed previously.
That we want to shed. You think that's what we want to shed?
Well, it's a.
It's an outbuilding. I don't know if anyone else has got any thoughts. I mean, the John Nelson principle of it's their land, they can do what they want with it. Obviously,
Well, they're providing extra.
extra, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Which is good.
Mm.
It's the trees coming down that everybody feels that will change the street.
But it's not extra accommodation for anyone in Frome, is it? Because it's,
Well,
unless it's an Airbnb or something, I guess, yeah.
you don't know that, and it's quite contemporary, and it follows the look, the sort of timber cladding, it follows the look of the ones further down the street, doesn't it?
Yes.
So it's very, it's quite a good argument.
I mean, we don't know, maybe some sort of intergenerational living or whatever.
Mm.
But,
Yeah.
I don't object to the idea of there being an additional living space there. But I think if we can do something to preserve the apple trees and the existing street signal, we should.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we want to ask Bo Walsh if the trees are worthy of a TPO.
I guess so.
And there are concerns of street scene.
Yeah, and that's linked to the trees.
Okay. So if I draft something tomorrow, Steve.
Yep.
And send them over to you, make sure you're happy.
Yeah.
And then we can-
We're happy with the development, is it? Yeah.
I mean, I think, yes, the fact is it's taller, isn't it? It's another story.
Oh, it's bigger and yeah, it's a bigger footprint, definitely.
So it will have quite an impact. No objections from the
No.
neighbours.
No. Okay. Yeah, if we could do that, then
Yeah, so
that'd
do
be
you
great.
want to vote on that one, that we're happy with the development, but we're concerned about the loss of trees and whether they're worthy of a TPO, and we're concerned about the change in the street scene.
Okay, we're happy with that? Someone propose that? Philip? Great.
Lovely.
Those were the main ones we picked out. It's quite early. Is there anything else? There's a,
I'd probably want to have a look at 25 Catherine Street.
yeah,
Is that the one that we went on?
yeah, that's the one we put on.
So
So let's do the proposed plans. Well, no, actually, let's open the plan heritage statement.
Oh, unavailable.
Oh dear.
There's a few like that.
So if you just click on back on that tab.
Right, let's go for the existing plans proposed. Ooh, right, no, we can't. Okay,
Oh, we've got to look at it.
yeah, we've already looked at it. So 25 Catherine Street. And the application is for change of use for a workshop at the rear of the shop to a residential Class C3 usage. There's no loss of the shop front. The shop front stays the same. It's replacing the workshop with a 2-bed property. 25 Catherine Street currently has no parking, and no parking will be provided for this location. It backs onto is it Morgan Lane?
Yep.
Morgan Lane. Morgan's Lane, which is a very narrow sort of access lane, or even certainly too narrow to park a car. You can probably drive a car down there. That's about it.
Morgan's Lane is just a, what would you call it, a ginnel?
Yeah.
It's just an access to the back of all the shops because they're all commercial properties.
Hmm.
Every other property along there, the access is bins. There are 2 or 3 food establishments, bistro, Indian restaurant, something else. Rats run along there, I know because I walk through it frequently. It seems like an inappropriate place to have a residential building to me because I just don't know who would want to live there, to be honest.
Most of the time, you can't get down it, but commercial buildings can't.
No, you can't, and it stinks.
Can I
and
just
it's,
remind you to all use microphones, so I've just remembered, but
Cool.
it's still live on YouTube.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. No, it's I can see why they might want to maximise the potential of their building. But it seems like an inappropriate place for me to, and it's a change of use they're asking for. It's a change of use I wouldn't really agree with because it's I mean, it's a workshop because in the old days it was a motorbike shop. The front shop was a motorcycle showroom, the back was a workshop, and that's how it was set up to be. Yes, things change. I'm surprised the Civic Society haven't imposed their usual condition like they did at Beechwood Avenue, saying that if we agree with this, then we should have this condition that it's not should not be occupied as a separate dwelling to avoid overdevelopment. Why would they not say that in this
Well,
case?
yeah.
I don't know. We're not here to ask.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be a separate dwelling, isn't it?
And they're quite straightforward about that. I mean, it's going to be a 2-bedroom
Yeah.
house to all intents and
Two-bedroom.
purposes.
Mm.
Not specifically for workers, you mean? Not developed for workers for a business.
No, it would be,
No,
be
it
completely
doesn't say
separate.
that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that would make sense, but there is accommodation above the shop for those people. I would
I
suggest.
mean, on a small scale, it's loss of another employment opportunity.
It is, yeah. I'm not very keen on this.
Yeah. On the flip side of that, it's providing a small dwelling. What's more in?
Well, I thought we had a policy of saying, you know, we don't remove employment opportunities
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
land for employment use.
I think the access to this is from Morgan's Lane, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nowhere you're going to be able to park a car or anything down there.
No, I mean, if you went in there, you go on with that proviso, wouldn't you? That there is no car parking.
That's the lane. It narrows here.
Yes, yeah.
Any other thoughts from anybody?
Well, the car park that's opposite is a council owned car park, isn't it? So I don't think, huh?
One at Badcocks.
The one that is right opposite there, the one that goes down, the big one that's the rear of everybody's houses.
No,
It's private, isn't it?
no. Well,
It's
there isn't
not.
one, there isn't one behind there.
The one that is in the centre of Selwood Road and Nasher Street.
Yeah,
That's a car park owned by Mendon.
it
isn't
is. But that's 3 streets up. Because you've got Morgan's Lane goes onto Castle Street. Then you go up to Selwood Road, then you go up to National Street.
Oh, right, I thought this was at the, just a little bit further on from that bike place now. From the current bike place. Just a little bit. No, I got the wrong place, okay. I thought it was the access street between, I thought Morgan's Lane was the access street between Nurture Street
No, it's not.
and Selwood, okay, sorry,
No.
apologies.
Yeah, it's the one that runs down from the junction with Castle Hill, Castle Street,
Yeah.
down toward and round the back of the shops to Catherine Hill Street.
Actually runs along the back of there. So it starts along the back of there. You've got Castle Street, you've got all this going out here, and then you've got
Yes,
Selwood Road, and then you've got National Street, Street Island. You've got 25. So. Basically, we're talking about.
yeah,
around here, yeah.
I sort of think that the
Yeah,
parking is an
but-
issue
yeah,
because
sure.
of the nature of it being town centre and we're not actually encouraging.
No,
lots of
no,
the park places. But anyway, I don't think that's the issue, it's more the loss of.
but there wouldn't be, I mean, I didn't even.
There it
see-
is.
I didn't even see, yeah, that's
that-
the front, yeah. I didn't even see where they would keep the bins, there was something about that, but there would be no way. Like we're talking about bike parking on the previous application, the only bike parking would be through your front door. That's the front of it, which I see is a motorbike shop, and the back is the workshop.
Any other, Andy?
I mean, it's a difficult one.
Yeah.
I know in today's market, you can sell or rent out anything you want to make residential in Frome for silly money anyway.
Mm.
I wouldn't like to think of anybody having to live around there. because it's essentially a commercial working space.
Mm. Yeah, thanks. Anyone else?
I would just say that it seems to be signalling that it's a rental property of some description. And I don't think Mark will know this better than I do, but I don't think there are any other residential properties in that lane.
Only above shops.
Only above shops, yeah.
There are some, at the top of Morgan Lane on Gentleman Castle Street, there are some Guinness Trust social housing. There, and then round the back of this property, there's again some more Guinness Trust there, which only has pedestrian access. But mostly that fronts onto Castle Street rather than Morgan Lane.
Anybody else? Any other comments? I'm not sure where we are on this one.
Well, I'd suggest that we actually object on the basis of the loss of the employment space.
Okay, yeah, that's one option.
And if we go on the previous thought that the Civic Society objection applies to this one, not to the other one that they thought it did. Yeah.
Well, they haven't actually objected to any of them.
No, but they drawn inadequate for an application, and they failed to show the implications of the change of use.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the implications for the change of use.
I think we've got enough information to make a full assessment of how it's going to be doing. It's not that you won't be enough to know, but
It's a very subjective
It is
sort
very
of
subjective.
comment,
I
isn't
agree
it?
with
You know?
that. Yeah.
I mean, if all those workshops at the back were turned into two-bed units, it actually, well, it might be a nice place to live.
this is the bit of Catherine Street that is between, Catherine Hill, where they were, the main success of the retail, and then Badcross, which is the main successful part. You've got this bit, which is a bit of no man's land.
Yeah, the bit in the middle.
So it does say to me that businesses have tried there and not done well, but it needs potentially some money put into it. There's an area there that's very down at heel, remind me of kind of, when it first came to Broome, that's what a lot of Catherine Hill was like.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, it's only really because people had the money put in to buy up some of the shops, develop them and make them, put them into good shape, that has brought Catherine Hill on to be the place that it is now. And this seems to be the no man's land that has got forgotten a bit. So I don't know if this that somebody, actually really investing in the building and improving it, then that,
Well, the shop itself has just closed down, hasn't it?
yes.
So, but you've got the two Lottie premises, you've got butchers, you've got very busy chip shop, and
Yeah.
Oakville, you've got.
It's just on the tail end of that as it starts to go in.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
it is.
Yeah, it's one of the last places that hasn't actually been converted into a shop. If it is, you don't have to go down there.
Yes.
And so as soon as they do that, do you think that there could be an application to change the front of the place into a shop, into accommodation?
Should we ask for the intent, what their intention is of this? And also, I think what the Civic Society sort of said, what are the implications of this change of use? How do they see it working?
Yeah.
We might,
I think that question.
yeah.
Need more information.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are the two things we really sort of want to try and get answers for. What's the intention and what are the implications of a change of use? for loss of, I mean, it's sort of for this and the other rears of those properties as well, isn't it? Up and down Morgan's Lane. We don't want to lose.
Find some way of wording that if you will.
Yeah, what I heard. No, I mean, you know, the thing is, we don't want to lose a whole load of potential employment space, not just this particular one, but by setting a precedent across the whole of the rear, if that's what it's going to be. But at the same time, if it is going to pull this little bit up and join Catherine Hill to the sort of Babcock's Lottie area and make it nice,
Yes.
then
I'd be interested to know whether the business has failed and that's what's prompted this, or whether this was always in mind and that's what it comes to the end of the lease and asks the business to leave. You know, because obviously that shows the second-hand dress shop that was there before for a limited time.
Yeah.
Ecobus has been in.
there's been a few comes and goings in that little bit, isn't there? Yeah.
It's responsible for flat above, and there's no separate access, so I think that.
You have to go through the shop.
But yeah, I think that could be what problem is there space, but
Yeah.
no separate access.
We've seen that on Catherine Hill a few times.
And they're going to be even less if they block off the back.
Or they may be.
Okay, so we've got a few questions that we would like answers to before we make a decision.
Yeah.
Which Hannah and I will concoct something in the morning.
We'll just get a vote on that one that that you're all happy with that.
Well, I'll propose that. Great. There's nothing else from me. Is there anything else anyone would like to?
I'm happy to propose that we go with no objection on the rest.
Great, thank you, Andy. Someone second that? And that's unanimous. Great, well, I'll, as I said, we'll work on a couple of responses, which will get around to everybody tomorrow or Monday, and put them forward from there. Thank you very much. Next meeting is on the 22nd of September.